Good evening, everybody. Okay, it is 9 p.m. in Texas, and it's light outside. That's how Texas is. The sun is still out. Okay, so I am going to talk about three main things regarding gossip. It's just things that have been on my heart, in my mind. I've just been thinking about things and how one can handle gossip. And those three main things that I'm talking about today is how do you handle / respond to gossip as the listener, as the person receiving the gossip. How do you respond? How do you handle that? And then the next question is, what do I do when people are spreading lies about me? So what do you do when people are spreading lies about you? What type of things can we do there? And then the third one is, question is, how do I move past my friends believing wrongly of me? Okay, so those are the three main things that we're going to talk about. As you are on here and you have, you want to dialogue or you have some questions or some things you want to add in, please comment as you're on here and listening. Also, I would love to have some more, like some feedback and some of your things that you would like to share to get some pointers out there, because you have probably experienced these things that I'm about to talk about, and some of the things that you learned, like whatever wisdom you gained, please add it on here. Okay, so we're going to start with that first one. How do you respond to gossip as the receiver? So the first thing is, consider the source. Consider who it is that is telling you this piece of information. Consider who it is. And what I wrote down, do they usually speak ill of other people? Are they usually saying something negative anyway? So consider who that person is and what what they do. I have heard a podcast before where they say dogs are gonna bark. Trying to fix my hair. Dogs are gonna bark. What other examples? Dogs are gonna bark. Birds are gonna chirp. Liars are going to lie. So let's not get, or gossipers are going to gossip. So let's not get surprised when gossipers gossip or negative people speak negatively about someone else to you. That's just what they do. So let them be them. You can't control anybody. You can't make anyone change. You just take care of you. So you just recognize, consider the source. So if someone's coming to you with gossip about someone else and it's speaking ill of that person, consider who it is. Who is it? And recognize if they're always saying negative anyway, then you can't really take that as truth. So are they usually speaking ill of other people, or do they have actual facts, unbiased facts? And also, why receive that information if it doesn't alter your life in any way, if it doesn't help you on your research paper? If you're not doing anything with it, if you're not requesting that information for whatever reason, why is it being brought to you? So consider the source. That's the first thing. Who's the person that's telling you this? And the second thing is, consider the motives of that other person. What are the motives? Let's give an example. There's three people. Person number one, person number two, person number three. Person number one and person number two are talking, and person number one tells person number two about person number three, and this person is not in the room. So this third person is not in the room, but 1 and 2 are talking about this person, or the 1 is talking to the 2 about the 3. And this person is telling number 2 some negative things about number 3. And number 2, which is you because you're receiving this information, number 2 is listening and hearing it out. But number 1 actually had an encounter with person number 3, and they got upset and they got angry because person number 3 said some things that got them upset and angry. And now there's just this thing that person number 1 has against this number 3. And so this person is just telling number 2 things because they're upset. It's coming from an upset place inside of them. And so there's just this bend that they have towards this negative thing towards that person. And so I hope you were able to follow that. Essentially, what it is the person that is giving negative information or gossip about someone else, what's their motive? Are they trying to tell you something so that you can have a perception about that person that matches what they believe? So what is the motive? Or maybe you went to that person that has a tiff with that other person and you're talking about how great that other person is or what great thing they did, and that other person spews something negative. Watch out for that. Why? Why did that person completely bypass the positive thing about that individual that you just said? And why is that person now speaking the negative? There's some motive inside here. And they're saying something so that they can have you come onto their side, so that they can feel validated about why they feel that about that other person. So you just be very careful when you're speaking positively about someone and then that person responds negatively, automatic negative about their character. There's a motive there. There's something there that they're trying to skew and turn. And so pay attention to that. And then, so how do you handle or respond to gossip? The third thing I have here is ask yourself, is it necessary? Is it truly necessary? Do I need this information? Am I writing a research paper? Am I doing a biography on this person? Do I need this information? Is it necessary? Okay. 9 times out of 9, we ain't writing a biography. Okay? We don't need that information about someone else, especially if it's negative. Is it going to alter my life in any way? Is it going to enhance my beauty? No. Sometimes we just don't need that information. Why do we need it? Is it necessary? Do you need this information? If not, say this before. Okay, so I'm writing down here, like, here's like some language you can keep in your back pocket for people who come to you with gossip or some information about other people. You can develop your own language, and you get to decide what feels comfortable to respond in that very moment. You can say something like, hold on, before you say that, I need to say this part, and then tell a story about what you want to share, or say, ask them a question about, hey, were you able to go to, out of town and get in touch with that person? Like, ask a question that will get them to talk about something else, or you just share a story that you want to say. So just stop them in the middle of it, because you know that they're going to gossip. Do you have people like that? Where you're like, okay, hold on, before you say that, I have to say, and then you just go in and you say a story, a long, exciting story that will just shift their thinking and everything. Or you could just say it outright and just say, hold on, I don't want to know that. And just stop them in the middle of it. And listen, if they're your friends, coach your friends, talk to your friends, tell them to do some inner work, help them heal. Because if your friend is constantly talking ill about other people and gossiping constantly, check your friend. If you guys have that tight relationship, check your friend. Say, listen, friend, listen. You've been gossiping about Hulana and Fulana for 3 days. Let's sit down, let's do some soul work together, sis. Let's talk this through. Okay? And if you guys have that relationship, do that. And I have that conversation and be able to help that person work some things out. And listen, maybe you could do some soul work together and like find out that there was an inner child wound and that person triggered them and constantly reminded them of their mom, you know, or whatever. And that's why there was always just this ugly fight, you know. I know I trigger people. I mean, I don't know. No one's told me. But I'm sure I have. I'm sure I do. I'm sure I do trigger people. I don't know, right? People, well, hold on. Story time, quick story. I have triggered people, and I actually know that I do have had in the past. My husband and I were youth pastors. And how many of us have heard stories of youth pastors I'm trying to think of how to say this because I always want to watch my words. I always want to make sure that I don't say anything that brings harm to anybody. So I'll just say it this way. You can hold a title. In my case, I was a youth pastor, and so we can hold a title where when people come into in the past when we had a youth group, if they were hurt by youth pastors in the past, we represent what hurt them in the past. Example, that's an example of we can trigger people without knowing it, and we don't mean it, and we don't try to. But when we trigger someone, that's someone else's issue to deal with. It's not our fault when other people get triggered. Is it necessary? And the other thing I wrote down is, do they start by saying, don't tell anyone, but. So that's a really good indicator to tell them, okay, then don't tell me. Then I don't need to know that. If they start off a sentence with, don't tell anybody, but, right? And there's different factors that go into it, so let's go through these factors. If it's a friend, a very deep, close relationship that you have with this person, and they say, don't tell anybody, but. If that's the case and that's what happens, you tell that person, I am here for you to vent. I am here for you as a safe space. But what you're about to tell me, if it's going to harm you or someone else, sis, you know I can't keep that a secret. And I will have to say something. Okay? So that way you've laid out that foundation. And if they choose to continue and say what they say, and it does hurt them or someone else, then that's a cry for help. Okay? That's them you wanting to do something about it. So then you go forward and you do something about it. Second thing is they say, I'm going to tell you something, but don't tell anybody. And you tell them, if it's going to mess up my integrity, know that I'm going with my integrity. And I'm not going to keep a secret. And, and you might have to coach them on knowing how to handle or deal with whatever it is that they got inside of them. That's friendship scenario. If it's an acquaintance and it's someone who you just see and you just tell them, then I don't want to know. That one's easy. Just don't tell me. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Go tell someone else. Okay, so that covers the question. Those are just some of the things I wrote down for the question, how do you handle and respond to gossip? And some other things I want to sprinkle in here is the gossiper. Sometimes there are speculative thinking. There's speculative thinking. And if it's your friend sharing with you some gossip, some negative stuff about someone else, and it's your friend, and you know that sometimes they do struggle with distortion, speculative thinking. What I mean by that is they hear something differently than what, or they have a negative bend to things that they hear. So if you know that you have a friend that struggles like that, do not coddle that. That's not healthy for them to live with. Help them work that stuff out. Help them, give them pointers on how to do some self-reflection and just how to handle those types of things with okay, so an example would be, you have a friend who deals with negative thinking, and when they hear information, it's usually spun around, and it's dropped in, and it's negative. And so you have a friend like that. So what do you do there? When they tell you, well, so-and-so said this, and their tone was this way, and oh, you should have heard that person and the way they said it, but you know that other person also, and you know that other person's heart, question your friend. Question them. Okay, what was said? How did you respond? Because remember, people who gossip and are negative, they usually just say what other people say to twist it, and they never say what they say, So sometimes it's a response to what they say that was negative or harsh or whatever the deal. So just challenge your friend, challenge the person, especially if they deal with negative thought processes, if they deal with speculative thinking. Challenge your friend, just ask questions so that they can be able to go deep inside to understand why they think the way that they do, why they go to automatic negative. Okay, so now the next question is, what do I do when people are spreading lies about me? I like this one. First is ask yourself, well, is it true? Is it true? Is it really a lie? Sometimes there's some truth with some lies sprinkled in there. So take out what's true, whatever stuff is being spread about you, take what's true, throw away the rest, and deal with you. You win. You get to do some soul work, and you get to recognize, oh my gosh, that is a blind spot about me. I do that. I hate that I do that. Do some work. See, some gossipers and liars and negative people can be useful tools. And so when you say, what do I do when people are spreading lies about me? You ask the question, is it true? Yes. Well, do some soul work. Do some healing. Recognize where you are falling short and go from there. And then if you ask your question and you're like, is it true? No. Move on. Carry on. Set healthy boundaries and just move on. Set healthy boundaries where necessary. Whatever the person or whatever lies are being spread, and to who is spreading the lies, recognize who they are. Set healthy boundaries. It's not true about you. Carry on. And what do you do? Another thing that you can do when people are spreading lies about you. What can you do? Nothing. Is it true? No. Nothing. Just carry on. It's okay. It's okay. You have no control of what other people say about you or what they do about you. And what people say about you is none of your business. It's none of your business. What people say about you and it's untrue, and what people say behind your back, it's none of your business. It's behind your back for a reason. And you might think, well, I don't want anyone gossiping about me or thinking bad about me or talking bad about me. It's gonna happen, and that's okay. That is okay. You cannot control what other people do or say, or how they spin stories about you, what narratives they're putting out about you, how they're taking truth and spinning it with some lies and just embellishing the story so that they can be the hero in the story. Have you ever had conversation with other people and then the other person goes and talks and says the story, and then they embellish more things so that they can be the hero? Have you ever experienced that? Let them. Let them. they might need validation on their own. There's some unhealthy things going on in the inside of them. Let them do that. You have no control. It's none of your business. It's not a reflection of you. Listen, if it's a lie, it's not a reflection about you. If it's truly a lie and they're spreading lies about you, about your character, that has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. If it's truly a lie, nothing to do with you. Everything to do with the issues that are in their heart and mind. And that's something they have to deal with, not you. So, if they are truly lies, recognize that it's a them problem. You probably trigger them. When people get triggered, that's not your fault. So just wanted to add that in there too. And what's another thing that you can do when people are spreading lies about you? Laugh. Some things are bold-faced lies. Let me think of one about me. Because I got to ask. Babe!
Yeah.
What was that? Remember that one time?
They thought we were doing drugs in the back.
He's shouting. Okay, here's one. A lie about me and Paul doing drugs or smoking weed?
Doing drugs.
Doing drugs in at a trailer. I used to live in a trailer when I first got here. And so the rumor was that me and Paul were doing drugs behind the trailer. A bold-faced lie, right? There was truth to that. I did live in a trailer. So I had access to a trailer. But I wasn't smoking or doing no drugs. I've been clean for over 18 years. Thank you. Okay, so it's just things like that. Like, that's laughing material. But the most recent one, what was that one? When we had exited, remember?
That we started a coup?
No, not that one. There was something where it was just so funny. I cannot remember, but I can't even remember, but it was hilarious because there was actually no truth to that one. Anyway, so just laugh. Sometimes it's just good material to laugh at, and just call it a good day and chuckle. Okay. And the last question I want to tackle is, how do I move past when my friends are believing wrongly about me? Straight up answer, they're not your friends. They're not your friends. And you can almost thank them, because now you're able to separate your true friends who know your heart against those that are easy and quick to believe false about you. So they're not your friends, because your friends know your heart. And someone who goes to them and says, well, she or he did this and did that, to the point where they're getting emotional and they're saying something and it's a complete lie on their end, and your friends believing that person, but that doesn't even match your character. They're not your friends. So from there, you recognize they're not your friends, and then move on accordingly, and you're able to let them believe how they want to believe. And you know, there's different things you can do at that point. If they were truly your friends and it was years that you had a relationship with them, and then they start thinking wrongly of you, and then they start telling you things or whatever, I don't know, but you can sit down and have a conversation with them and say, hey, you know, you've mentioned that you heard this, and now you're treating me as though that is true. I want you to know that's hurting my feelings. Do you believe that? You know, and just be very candid with them and talk to them. And then by their response and how you converse and what kind of dialogue you guys have, you get to set some healthy boundaries and go forward however you choose to at that point. But it's always good to have conversation, especially if they're truly, if you guys been friends for a very long time, and then they start believing wrongly about you based on false narratives that are out there. You can have conversation with them and go from there. Sometimes we recognize who was in our corner the entire time and who wasn't. If someone can be pulled aside and they can be told things about you that don't match your character and they can believe that quickly, you know that they probably never knew your heart to begin with. And that stuff is sad. That stuff is hard to deal with, especially when you believe that they were your friends and you've known them for a very long time, a decade or so, 5 years, whatever. And it stings a little when you recognize how quickly people or friends, how quickly it is that they're swayed by false information about you. You get to understand there who truly knows your heart and who it is that is in your corner. And so, so the question, how do I move past my friends believing wrongly of me? They're not your friends. And they're able to separate, you're able to separate the wheat from the tare. And they made it easier for you. Hard, because you felt they were your friends, but they made it easier for you. They let you know where they stand with you. And so that was the 3 main questions that I wanted to tackle. And now I'm just going to kind of sprinkle in a few things. Speculation. Gossipers are, when they're given information, they fill in gaps with speculation. If they don't have the whole story, gossipers, when they receive information and they have more questions and they don't have answers, they begin to speculate and they create their own narrative based on what they believe, with their own distorted thoughts, with their own speculative thinking. They begin to fill in the gaps to embellish what they feel, to fill out their narrative. So gossipers usually speculate all by themselves. And you know how gossip continues to spread. If it continues to spread onto people who are weak-minded and they don't decipher facts from fiction, and they don't ask those challenging questions where they're asking, where did you get that information? Based on what? Where did you hear that? Based on who? Based on what? When you, as the listener or receiver of this gossip, if you are not challenging that gossiper with those facts, those questions, and you're asking, where did you get that information? Okay, good. Where did they get that information? Well, they thought this or they saw that. Okay, so based on what they saw there, they formulated that assumption. And now you're carrying it over to another set of ears. Well, not when you hit here, sis. I'm going to ask you the challenging question. So when you hear gossip, you want to ask those challenging questions, and you want to ask, where did you get that information? And have that gossiper really think about where they got that information. Because some people don't recognize their gossipers. Some people don't recognize that they have distorted thoughts. Some people don't recognize that they thrive off of information that causes someone else to look bad. So recognize your group and who it is. And if you're the gossiper, if I try really hard not to gossip, and I miss it. And there was a time where I was constantly in a room talking about, I don't know, I just feel like, I don't know, just something's not right. And I was going off of my feelings and my distorted thoughts and my speculative thinking. So that's why I'm saying the way that I'm saying it, because I was the person, and I was the gossiper, and I was that person that went off of information without questioning, you know. And so all of this is just because it's been on my head and my heart. And one of the things that we want to continue to do to create safe spaces for people is to allow people to vent, but then if it's a gossip session, know when to stop it and say, okay, now let's do some reflective thinking. Now let's do some reflection for you so that you can heal from that. So be a safe space for that person. If they're your friends, be that safe space, but always end it with, let me help you see some things, or let me ask you some challenging questions, and let's go down deep into what really is bothering you, and why do you feel like you always have to say something negative about that person when you hear something positive of that person. And so just be that safe space and be a good challenging friend, and have that healthy conversation, and teach each other, like coach each other, and pray with each other, and read the book of Proverbs. Oh, the book of Proverbs. I love that so much. That reading the book of Proverbs helps you, especially when you're like, if you're struggling with something, whatever you're struggling with at that moment, and you're reading the book of Proverbs, you will gain wisdom against that issue. It's beautiful. You should read the book of Proverbs every month. It's just very helpful. Okay, so that's all. That's it. That's it. Thank you for jumping on, and for those of you who have been listening, I appreciate you guys. And it's just a place for me to just give some stuff, some just information. Listen, I was reading my journals. This is me rambling now. I was reading my journals, and I'm in the middle of my soul retreat. And what that means is, right here, just give me a second. Okay. What that means is I'm taking a few of my journals from the past, and I'm reading it. So right now, I'm in March of 2017. So Yudi back in 2017 was going through some things, and she wrote a whole bunch about it. And a lot of it was surrounded with gossip and some hard things that I was going through at that time, and healing, and reading the book of Proverbs, and writing some notes and things. And I'm a whole different human being from this part of my life here, but I'm only a different human being from this part because of that craziness that was going on at this time. So anyway, I encourage you guys to do soul retreats. And soul retreats are basically, if you journal, go back to your older journals and just read it as a novel, and do some soul reflection, and do some healing, and recognize some unhealthy patterns and grow from it, and just that kind of stuff. Listen, I'm here for you. If you guys need someone to talk to, if you need a listening ear, and you feel like you struggle with gossip or whatever, like I'm here. I'm here to help. I'm here to listen. I'm here to help untangle some of the things for you, and it's free, because I do that for humans, and because I just really care. And if you need a listening ear and you feel like you're alone, you're not alone. I will listen to you. You just message me on Facebook and we'll have a chat. So you guys have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday night, and I will talk to you guys hopefully again soon on live. Bye.